So I will start the meeting of November 14, 2023. This is the Dartmouth Conservation Commission. And we're conducting the meeting remotely as a result of the governor signing further extensions of the hybrid remote meeting option to municipalities on March 29, 2023. That extension runs until March 31, 2025. There is a raise your hand feature, and of course, wave your hand if that doesn't work. And we will then recognize you and unmute you, and you can then be heard. Otherwise, I'd respectfully request that you keep your microphones muted so we don't get background noise when others are presenting. And the first items of business will be administrative. The first is the approval of the minutes of the October 16, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion. Roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That passes unanimously. Second is the approval of the field trip reports of October 31, 2023. A motion to that effect.
So moved.
There was a
Second.
seconded motion. Roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Third item administratively is to receive the minutes of the October 31, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
We have a second on that motion.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Richard,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
and that I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Our final order of business is kind of a very good thing to be bringing up. We have a new conservation officer, Jenna Silva. Jenna, you want to say hello to everybody here?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jenna, as Mike said, and yep, I'm the new conservation officer for the town of Dartmouth. And just kind of sitting in and observing today. If you need anything, please let me know.
I will. Thank you. We're going to certainly use your services, and we will, I'm sure, have plenty of questions. Maybe not tonight, but in future meetings and before future.
Sounds great.
Mark,
wel-
you have anything to say about Jenna?
Pardon, Mike?
Do you have anything you want to say about regarding the introduction?
Jenna started a week ago yesterday. She's been very attentive, learning about a lot of stuff. We've been on site. We've been on site once where she's learning viewpoints, and you know, she's very much on the learning curve. She's doing a great job.
Terrific. Well, welcome aboard. We appreciate you more than you can believe.
Thanks, everyone.
We have two members who aren't here tonight, but I'm sure they'll be happy to introduce themselves to you when they can, either the next meeting or in between time. Moving on now to field trip reports. Our first is a request for a certificate of compliance, DEP file 15-2654, RCC 23-46. It's from Andrea Wilson for the wetland replication at map 42 lot 10-3. It's 8 Woodbury Lane. Mark, staff's comments on this request for certificate of compliance.
Sure. Before we get into the case specifically, I do want to make a little announcement. This is the first time we've done this, but you will notice I have added an additional parenthetical number to every public or every agenda item, meeting-wise, whether it's a field trip report or a public hearing. Those are the reference numbers for viewpoints. When most people go on to Viewpoint, they do not know what the file number is. But Viewpoint assigns a Viewpoint specific number, RCC being certificate of compliance, NOI being notice of intent. We have specific numbers. So I thought it prudent, since that is a way that people can view these files, and is actually the way we're going to be viewing files in the future. I figured I'd start putting those numbers on, so that's what those parenthetical numbers represent. Moving forward.
I think it's a good idea, Mark, by the way. I think that's a terrific idea to do that on our agendas. Thank
Yeah, because I
you.
think what will happen is you may bump into people on the street and say, I got a question on the NOI 2346, and you're gonna go like, what the heck is that? So at least you'll have some record of that, and there is always talk of boards and commissions becoming familiar with this system. I don't know when and if that's gonna happen, but this is certainly an easy way to begin that process. So you will be seeing those numbers from here on in.
Thank you.
Going to the specific case, this was we conducted an A1 on this site 1.5, 2 years ago. We observed cutting and removal of vegetation without a permit. They went through a planting plan, revegetation plan that was finished in the spring, went through the first growing season. It's been very successful, and therefore staff is comfortable in recommending a complete certificate of compliance on COC for file number 152654.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have any question? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to issue a complete certificate of compliance on DEP file 15-2654.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion, roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. The second field trip report is a request for a certificate of compliance with DEP file 15-2574. That's RCC 23-49. It's from Carrie Snyder, care of Richard Rayum, for the repair of an existing seawall at map 121, lot 28. It's otherwise known as 2 Cottage Street. Mark, what's staff's recommendation on this request?
Yes, site inspection was done. The seawall work was done as proposed on the plan of record. There were no visual impacts. The shoreline off of Cottage Street looks very normal. The wall looks far more intact, and we're recommending a complete certificate of compliance.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have any question? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to issue a complete certificate of compliance on DEP file 15-2574.
So moved.
Second.
Give a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yep. Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Our third and final field trip report is a request for a partial certificate of compliance with DEP file 15-1211, RCC 23-51. It's from attorney Brian Glover for the completion of the subdivision entitled Jason Heights by Alfred Ponce. This is off of Jason Drive for the parcel identified as map 125, lot 34-22. It's otherwise known as 11 Mariel Drive. Mark, what is staff's recommendation on this request for a partial certificate of compliance?
Yes, this is an old subdivision, and we see these more frequently these days. People are transferring title. Subdivision order of conditions was never closed out, encumbers each lot within the subdivision because the permit was issued on the parent lot. In this case, it was lot 34. Lot 34 has since been subdivided into 30 plus smaller lots. This is lot 3422. 2 previous partials have been issued on this subdivision. A drive through the subdivision and a look at the subdivision plan indicates that the work for the subdivision was completed in accordance with the plan. Therefore, staff is recommending to issue a partial certificate of compliance for 11 Mariel Drive or lot 34-22 to free it from the encumbrance of the overall expired yet unclosed order of conditions.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance on DEP file 15-1211, and that's regarding lots 34-22 on map 125 only.
So moved.
Second.
Second, we have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're now moving on to our public hearing. And as we've had in the past, we have 3 public hearings in a row, which are related. So I'm going to read each one as they come up, but I suspect some of the information, the background information that will be given will be applicable to all 3. So the first is continued public hearing DEP file 15-2659. That's NOI 22-27. It's on the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC for a single-family dwelling and a ground-mounted solar panel array on the rear portion of the lot within bordering land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land described as map 138, lot 144, and that's on Potter Street. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. And I know that there was going to be another continuance, Mark, is that correct?
I can speak, but
I
Tim
see.
Cutts is here. He's a partner in Potter Street Solar, if he wants to speak first as the applicant.
I think that makes some sense. Tim, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Christian apologizes. He had a last minute conflict that came up, so he wasn't able to make the hearing. But based on our visit today, I think it'd be prudent to request a continuance for 2 weeks, I think is what we discussed on the site.
Okay, so the 2-week continuance would bring us to our Tuesday, November 28, 2023 meeting. Is that acceptable, Tim?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing. Well, first, let me stop myself. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to be heard on this, you are certainly capable of speaking up tonight or waiting until the continued public hearing. I don't see it. Patty, you've got a question.
I just have a question. We're continuing this again? Mark, can you explain the basis on which
Yes,
we're
I
continuing
can.
this?
Yes, I can. We have been, staff and the applicants have been back and forth several times. And we were able to get Mark Dakers from MADEP Solid Waste out, and we did a site visit this morning. So obviously, Mark has not produced any official finding yet. He was going back to DEP to speak with his colleagues. We did 6 more test pits. Was that it, Tim? 6 today, 13 through 18, right? We did 6 more test pits out there. So there's a total of 18 test pits on the site, of which we have varying amounts of data. Today's test pitting was the first time that these were not done in a vacuum. Staff, myself and Jenna were there today, as were Mark Dakers and a colleague of his from Mass DEP. So we observed the site and saw the site conditions. Since DEP was the overriding agency here, we are awaiting their report on what they saw. And that is the real reason for the continuance on this and the other 2.
And do we feel that 2 weeks is enough time for that information to get back to you and us?
We were told, the question was asked of DEP, and they said that they would have a report in a couple of days. Is that correct, Tim?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. He said day and a
Yeah,
half. So
Yeah, we
the
did.
Akers is pretty reliable, and I think if he said he was going to do that, I believe he'll get it out to us.
Yeah, and we had said to him that, specifically that our next hearing was the 28th of November. We had another hearing scheduled for December 5th, and he said that he could make the 28th. So the conversation was very direct about that date. So that's what we're anticipating.
Thank you, Mark.
That seems reasonable. If they didn't guarantee it, of course, but they gave you every reason to believe that would be well within the time frame for them to report.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep, I appreciate that explanation. Good questions, Patty. So any other commissioners have any questions? Seeing none, I'll at this point entertain a motion to continue the public hearing until our meeting on Tuesday, November 28, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Richard,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so that motion passes unanimously. The second public hearing is also continued public hearing on DEP file 15-2660, NOI 2225. It's on the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC for a single-family dwelling and a ground-mounted solar panel array on the rear portion of the lot within bordering land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. It's on land map 138, lot 144-1. It's on Potter Street. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We have the same circumstances as we did for the first. And so under those conditions, I believe the applicant is seeking a continuance until Tuesday, November 28, 2023 at 7 p.m. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. The third public hearing is also continued public hearing, and this is on DEP file 15-2658, NOI 22-26. On the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC proposing a ground-mounted solar panel array on the rear portion of a lot within land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. It's on land described as map 138, lot 144-2. It's on Potter Street. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Richard,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Again, these are all companion, is similar. It's identical to what we just heard for the reasons for continuances on the first two. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to continue this third public hearing on until Tuesday, November 28, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Good luck with the report.
Thank you.
We're going on to our fourth public hearing. It's a continued public hearing on DEP file 15-2708, PNRA 23-2. It's on the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, ANRAD, at map 33, lot 18-6. It's on Woodcock Road. Entertain motion to
Motion.
waive.
to waive reading.
Yep, a second.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion, roll call vote. Patty,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Is there somebody here for the applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Christopher Capone is here representing South Coast Engineering, and Francisco Ferreira and Diane Ferreira Lima. This property is, if I may share it with you here,
Yes, you may.
can you see that?
I
Yes,
can.
I can.
All
Yep.
right. Oh, I just lost it.
I was gonna say good job too.
Yeah, no, I love. There we go. This is the Lima property located off of Woodcock Road. This is a pre-existing subdivision. The site is 12.5 acres in size with approximately 6.5 acres of uplands. The wetland delineation was flagged in the field with flags A1 through A24 just off the screen. The agent made a correction at flag number A6 and eliminated the flag here and relocated it in this direction. So we now have an increased area of wetland represented on the plan, and this comes with a revision date of 10/24/23. So we're requesting approval of that delineation as shown. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, I'd like to hear staff's comments on this request.
Chris covered most of it. I did a site walk with South Coast and we did, based on soils and vegetation, make that one adjustment. Other than that, the line was, I thought, pretty clear cut in the field, and I agreed with it almost in its entirety. So staff is going to make a motion to approve the delineation via an ORAD as adjusted in accordance with plan dated October 24th, 2023. As a non-jurisdictional issue, though, I am going to mention for the record, if a review of the plan indicates that a large portion of this site is encumbered by priority habitat, so this will need to go at some juncture to natural heritage for some level of review, depending on the type of development and the size of development out there.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have any questions? Is there anyone wishing to be heard?
Mr. Chairman, I only like to add that there is an existing area cleared, pre-existing area that has been cleared on the property. So there was a previously approval. There is a building envelope currently existing on the site. So we will meet the natural heritage's requirements as we move forward with the project.
Thank you, Mr. Capone. Yes, I would assume that you would have to.
Thank you.
But I appreciate you bringing that up and acknowledging.
Just as a matter of record, staff was unaware that, I mean, I know the clearing was there, but I was unaware that there had been communications with natural heritage.
Well, that's fine. I'm glad we brought it up anyway, Mark. I think it's a good idea just to let people.
I think it should have been put on the record.
I think so. At this juncture, I didn't see any, I see somebody with their hand raised. David, is his hand raised? David? Question? You're muted.
David's muted.
Yeah.
Do we need to unmute him?
Don't know. We can't hear you, David, if you're there. I know your hand's raised and I don't want to skip over.
I don't see him. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. I don't,
DCTV, unmute him.
We asked to unmute him. I'm gonna click on
I'm asking DCTV if they can unmute him. Now David's unmuted.
okay, David, if you have a question, you're more than free to raise it or comments. Hello? Well, maybe the question was answered. Okay. I will, I'll enter, well, David's moved. Okay, so I will, at this point, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second, so we have a roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That passes unanimously. Commissioners, what's your pleasure on this request?
Make a motion to approve this ORAD as adjusted, as submitted on 10/24/23.
I think it was
So
an
moved.
Was it Anrad?
Is that the correct, but I would like to ask, is that the correct,
We're approving an ORAD,
Okay,
an water and resource area, not an NRAD. The NRAD is the application.
I
okay,
said ORAD.
you
so
did.
that's- Yeah.
Okay,
I just wanted to make sure that that was correct.
Okay, we have a motion now, which is correct. A second on the motion?
Second.
We have a seconded motion. Roll call vote. Patty,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're
Thank you,
moving.
Mr. Chairman. Happy
You're very-
Thanksgiving.
Thank you to you as well.
Same to you.
We're moving on now to our fifth public hearing, which is a continued public hearing on DEP file 15-2706 NOI 23-45. It's on the notice of intent from Silas Costa to construct a single-family home with garage, subsurface sewage disposal system, and regrading in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land described as map 24, lot 73-1. It's on Rocco Dundee Road. Entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. And we have someone here this evening on behalf of the applicant.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Andy Stackpole from Field Engineering. Am I coming through okay?
You are.
Great. I'm gonna just share my screen quickly here. We are, let's see here. I wanted to give you a, can you see that okay?
Nothing's come up yet.
I just wanted to show you the geography of the subject parcel off of Rocco Dundee. You can see it's fairly long, elongated.
I haven't seen
Primary,
anything yet. Can I just,
we are in plan.
your screen hasn't been shared.
oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, screen 2, here we go. Sorry about that.
No, as long as we get to see it, there we
Is
go.
that, can you see that?
Yep.
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is just off your GIS system. I just wanted to give you geography where the lot is. It's a very long, elongated 7.25 acre lot. Primarily, it had a former building structure located on the upper portion of the lot, and that's where the proposed site project will be constructed. Are you able to see the plan view here?
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay, great. So we have two resource areas on the northeast and southwest sides of this property, which made it a little bit of a challenge. So we have a section up, speaking of the northeast, northwest section, you can see there's a wetland area. The upper left, lower left, lower right there's a pond with an intermittent stream that comes through and exits to the south. Where the proposed dwelling is, right underneath there in the existing conditions, you can see there's a rubble foundation that was previously a structure. So we're proposing to put the new structure in the same, approximately the same location. We had to move it over to meet the setback locations, distances. and then proposing to put the septic system, the leach field, where the test pits, it's about where the previous system existed. We have a raised bed system. It's going to be see if I can zoom out a little bit here. So that's basically the cross section of the raised bed system. All gravity from the septic tank down into the system here. So basically you see 3-1 slope coming down. The closest point we're going to get to the resource area is up where the garage is. You know, we're meeting a 20-foot setback from the property line. The wetland, approximate wetland boundaries another 15 feet from the property line. So it's about 35 feet. The other distances you can see on the figure, we're 91 feet off to the northwest and about 83 feet from the resource area on the southeast section where the bed will go. As you can see, the property, there is access frontage on Rockadundy, but we're going to be putting an easement through the Silas's grandmother's house here. So the proposed driveway will come through on her existing property and over onto where the proposed garage is. We do intend on putting obviously erosion control around this entire project. 25 feet up, making sure that we're 25 feet off the resource areas. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't yet, but I think I'd like to hear from staff and hear what their comments have been.
Sure.
relative to this. So
Yeah,
Mark?
Andy, you can leave that up there for a second.
Okay.
Conceptually, I've walked the site. I have no problem with the proposal. Unfortunately, Andy and I emailed earlier today and I had not completed my final review of the plan. And I'm going to ask it as a question because it appears somewhat confusing to me. If we go to the lower left corner, we see the 100-foot buffer zone, which comes in from the west, then gets to a point at the system, and then doubles back to the southwest. But we have a line that continues, a buffer zone line that continues from the west going north. And that buffer zone appears to be the buffer zone, 100-foot buffer zone from the wetland to the west off-site. However, we have a on-site wetland to the east and the northeast of the proposed dwelling that ends in CC4A, which I believe was a flag that Adam put out in the field when he did an A1. And the buffer zone, as I'm reading the plan, the buffer zone is far closer than 100 feet from that particular flag. So I really don't know that that buffer zone line as depicted on the plan continues through the site as shown. And I kind of believe that that buffer zone should be coming down and then doubling back away towards Latham Lane, which is the cul-de-sac you see to the top's central edge. So the plan is a bit deceiving, and unless I'm misreading the plan, which is certainly possible, and Andy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think the plan does need to be revised to show a more accurate buffer zone. Having said that, That minor correction, as I have read the rest of the plan, I'm comfortable with a recommendation for approval with conditions, but I'm not yet making that because we don't have, in my mind, a clean plan of record yet. Maybe Andy can change that for me.
Yes, I can. I can see what you're saying, and that is correct. It needs to be better shown on this plan.
But then then having said that, I would suggest that we request a continuance until we get a corrected plan. And then I think based on another review, based on my comments, I would be comfortable at a later date in recommending approval.
Thank you, Mark. Do any commissioners have any questions? Is there anyone in the audience that's here this evening on this application? And they want to be heard tonight, of course. I don't see any. So at this point, I believe applicants in agreement that they would like to request a continuation of the public hearing until Tuesday, November 28, 2023 at 7 p.m.
Correct.
Can I have a motion to that effect?
Motion to continue, public hearing, DEP file number 15-2706, otherwise known as NOI-23-45 until 11/28 of 2023 at 7 p.m.
This motion,
Second.
with a seconded motion, roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We're going on now to our sixth public hearing, which is a continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2705 NOI 23-43. It's on the notice of intent from John P. Kopachevsky to construct a stone wall in the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland in a single pole osprey nest in the salt marsh on land described as map 112 lot 30. It's 16 Bourne Place. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Is there someone here this evening on behalf of the applicant?
I do not see anybody. I would assume it would be Josh or Sean from Northeast Consulting Engineers, and I don't see either one of them here.
Yeah, I don't either.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, this is the notice of intent that was filed on behalf of Mr. Kopachevsky for a stone wall and an osprey nest on a property which has two open orders of conditions. One has expired, long since expired. The second one has been extended. They're living in the house. There's still active work going on, and I am very uncomfortable with entertaining another notice of intent when we can't even get the other ones closed out. We have an abutter who is very concerned about this property and has been for some time. We've asked for an as-built with as-built topo to make sure that the site as it currently stands is in accordance with the plan of record, the amended plan of record. So at this time, I am not prepared to make a recommendation on this notice of intent. This is a habit that seems to go along with this particular applicant. I do know that he has been impacted by the changes, site tech, site design, CEC, and now he's with NEC. In 5 years, he's been probably with 4 engineers. I'm a little sympathetic with that. However, what the COCs, what we're asking is not very complicated. We were told a month ago that this was going to be done, and we're still carrying this as a line item. At this point, if the commission so chooses to continue one more time, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I think I should be authorized in sending out some sort of correspondence indicating that this is the last time you would do that. This has just been ongoing, and frankly, from an administrative point of view, I'm tired of babysitting these things that we're going to be told things, we're going to get things, and we don't get them, and we got to carry them and got to carry them. It's hard to set an agenda, not being sure what's going to happen down the road. So I am a bit frustrated with this one.
I can sense that, and for good reason. And I concur with you. It's bad business to be granting more when we haven't had compliance with what's already out there yet. So,
and this is not life or death. This is a stone wall and an osprey nest. It's not like it's, has to do with the functionality of the project itself or the development. It's an aesthetic. It's a pleasing aesthetic, and I'm just not willing to open up another file number that staff, whomever it is, has to chase down in 4 or 5 years.
I agree.
I concur.
You think Tuesday, the 28th is going to be enough to get them to do what they need to do, or?
Well, my fear is we're now at a point where we're loading the 28th. We've got quite a few. I would almost suggest that this gets pushed to the 5th of December.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
I mean, we have 4 big ones. If Potter Street goes as we anticipate it will, and there'll be discussion on that one, whatever the decision is. We have Rockland Farms Lane, which has been continued out. That's a complicated coastal site that we've had issues with and questions about. So that's 4 big ones right out of the chute, and we have things coming in that need to be scheduled for that too. So my recommendation would be to the 5th, and then I think we make a serious decision as to what we want to do with whether we're going to continue it yet again, or we're going to require them to refile, or they can withdraw without prejudice, whatever they want to do.
I don't see any problem with it. I honestly, I mean, this is not an emergency, as you said. This is a aesthetic, it's a stone wall and an osprey nest. There's really no reason to put it in a earlier meeting date, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm
But
in
we'll have a
agreement.
letter.
I'm in
And I
agreement.
think we should have a letter that goes out saying, this is the last one. So that, I agree with you completely, Mark.
Okay, so does somebody want to make a motion to continue this until the 5th of December?
So
2023?
the motion to continue DEP file number 15-2705, otherwise known as NOI-23-43, until December 5th, 2023.
Have a
Second.
second motion. Roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes unanimously. Our 7th public hearing is on
Wait a minute, can we, wait, before we move forward, do we need to authorize Mark to send out a letter?
I think we would do that in our items for discussion.
Okay. Thank you.
I've made a note of that for items for discussion.
Thanks.
On our next public hearing, it's on DEP file 15-2549 NOI 2348. It's on a request for an amended order of conditions to modify the permitted single-family home and associated site grading and layout at map 128, lot 49-9 on Avis Street. I entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
So moves. Second.
Motion second, so we will roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, that passes unanimously. The applicant has requested by email a continuance of this until the 28th. Mark, I don't know if we have room on that agenda for the 28th for this, but
This one we do, yes, this one we do. And just as a quick explanation, they are revising the plan as per some DPW comments. So that we'll have a final plan. Everybody else has signed off. DPW had some lingering comments, so they agreed to incorporate those comments, and it's just a matter of getting the plan prepared.
okay. That does make sense. They're making progress here.
Yep.
So I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until Tuesday, November 28, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
With the seconded motion, roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So that motion passes unanimously. Our final public hearing this evening is on DEP file 15-2707, NOI 23-46. It's on a notice of intent from Eric and Jessica Medeiros to construct an addition to a single-family home in an in-ground pool and a vegetated water quality swale and rain garden in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. It's on land described as map 153, lot 20. It's 50 Whiteweed Drive. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved. Hello.
With a
Second.
With a second on the motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, that motion passes unanimously. And is there someone here this evening on behalf of the applicant?
Good evening. For the record, Terry McGovern from Zenith Land Surveyors presenting, and I'll share the plan on my screen,
Thank you.
and hopefully everybody can see that. I've been getting
Yes.
too used to being in Microsoft Teams lately. Um,
No, we can see it fine. Thank you.
That is always good. This site's a little bit different in the filing that we made, and I know that Mark has been out there. The area, and I'm going to try to blow this up. I just need to move it sideways a little bit to do that. And then just move your tab out of the way. There we go. That's a little better. In that the vegetated area that's considered a wetland in the middle of the site, it literally sits in the middle, and it's cross-hatched in this area behind the existing house and the existing above ground pool. And it does function as a wetland, although I suspect now the primary use of it is more habitat than anything, because at one time it was a drainage ditch, if you will, that was fed by a culvert that runs under Hawthorne Street to the west. There's a ditch that comes down through the neighborhood, goes into a culvert, and originally emerged on the other side and fed this ditch, where it then went back into another culvert on the opposite side and down the back of the adjacent properties. And that culvert was tied into the street drainage somewhere in the past. I do actually have some pictures of it if nobody's been out there. It basically, now the street is very flat. And we still have, we do still have runoff that comes off this side of the street. There's a little area kind of at the end of the former trench that's got a little bit of stone in it, and maybe a small amount of scour And you can see that the, the runoff sheets off kind of in that area still, as well as along underneath the fence through this part of the, the rear yard. So it still does carry water, just not to the volume that it used to. And so the wetland plants that are in there, which are pretty dense, pretty tall, for the most part, are still pretty healthy. But it's not, you know, it's, you can walk through it and the bottom's pretty dry. And it's, I'd say now it's, while it contains a lot of wetland vegetation, probably its best function is as habitat as much as anything, because it's such a narrow band. And the Medeiros would like to take the area that's presently, it also has a stone wall that basically borders it from the the backyard that's been there since the house was built. And by the way, I should have noted at the top of the meeting is that this property has been through the commission. I think I did make a note on the plan about it. It did receive 2 earlier orders of conditions for clearing and grading of vegetation in the past. And I did make a note of that. So the property's been in front of the commission before, going back over the last 10 or 15 years. In any event, what they would like to do is to push this area that's contained by the stone wall out a little bit in order to take the area that's now an above ground pool and stone around it, and actually put an in-ground pool with about a 5-foot wide patio on the outside edge of it, tying that back into the house, and then do a garage and a master bedroom suite on the right side of the house. And what they're proposing, or what we're proposing, is to, by way of grading, so that we continue to move water through the property, is to relocate the swale and simply push it back roughly 8 to 10 feet from where it is now, bring it around the back of this new area where the pool patio is going to be, and to also create a vegetated replication area over here to the kind of to the left side of the property, in order to eventually replace the habitat. And we've noted a couple of typical type species that could be planted in there. Certainly, you know, if Mark has other suggestions, we can supplement it. We did put kind of a schematic planting plan on the side of the plan. And this area basically would surround the area, including across the outlet pipe, with a silt sock erosion control barrier, which would not only protect the area from disturbance, but protect that outlet pipe from disturbance getting in as well. The grading would all really take place within existing lawn area in the back. Over time, certainly the swale could be allowed to revegetate and take some of its former shape. We've kind of envisioned it as a more of a grass swale at the moment, so that it can continue to carry water. And again, we've shown kind of a schematic of that, and the replication area, which is going to fall at the natural low point of the yard, kind of over here in this westerly corner, and just a little bit in from a wood chip play area and a basketball court that exists. So it will be fed by runoff, which should allow any wetland plants planted in that area to proliferate and grow. And I think we've also made a note on here on regarding monitoring them for at least 2 growing seasons and replacing any plants that are died off or look like they're not going to make it. We put some pretty extensive notes regarding the construction and monitoring some suggested species, and also putting in a wetland seed mix. containing certain species, which can go in the soil as well. A little bit of an ongoing maintenance schedule to just make sure that everything is monitored. Again, watching the plantings for a couple of growing seasons, and that essentially is it. It's a little bit different in the fact that it's a wetland that its primary source was cut off, but it's still functioning as a wetland, and it still is receiving some runoff. Probably just not to the degree it was when the subdivision was originally constructed. And again, the area all around it has been used as a little wooden bridge there that we could move over just as decorative more than anything for the soil. But the rear area and the area all the way around it pretty much has been used as backyard and lawn since the previous orders. The entire site itself is a buffer zone because of the adjacent wetland and this thread through it. So you've got kind of this odd internal wetland to it. And with that, I'll step back and take any questions or comments from the commission and from Mark. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Mark, I'd like to hear staff's comments on this.
Yeah, Terry, could you scroll over so I can see the plant list and the schematic? Yeah, that's fine. My overall comment is that I do not have any problem with what's being proposed. I think there was some misidentification of resources in the previous submittals to Concom that Terry referred to early in his presentation. That really had nothing to do with this. I think Terry probably described it as accurately as one can. Can we scroll up a little bit to the plant list, Terry? Keep going. Okay. One of the things I will note, one of the things I disagreed with is under note number 6. They're proposing 1 gallon plant sizes. And just for your information, Terry, conservation requires for shrubs 3 to 5 gallon buckets or balls. So
Okay.
1 gallon is, and we put that in the order of conditions.
Okay.
1 gallon is just too small for our purposes. So that would be one change. If you could scroll over so we can see the entire site view. And scroll, yeah, okay, thank you. That's good enough. Okay, I do agree that the swale, intermittent stream, whatever we're gonna call it, which does convey water. The day I was out there was a nice sunny day. It was rather warm and the soil was moist. So water does, whether it's groundwater seeps or surface water runoff, water is conveyed along what is now on this plan hatched. The realignment of that swale further to the back really doesn't change its functionality. I think that while it does create some habitat, that's probably giving it more credit than it's due. It's really a weedy thicket. Probably a lot of nuisance vegetation. I didn't take time to do the species, but just by the growth and the entanglement, that's what it showed me. So that the realignment of the swale, further to the back makes perfect sense to me. They are proposing it as a grass swale. Terry, I would, in my recommendation, I think that the wetland seed mix that you're proposing for the restoration area probably should be extended up the bottom of that swale.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
As opposed to just a turf lawn, and I think that would give it some real habitat value. In terms of the layout of the plan of the restoration area, it looks fine. I think it's, pretty close to a 1-to-1, especially if you do seed the swale with a wetland mix as opposed to a turf mix. I think that would work very well. The other thing that I would recommend to the commission is, and I'd like to see this, and I think part and parcel, it has to happen this way. I'd like to see this swale and the restoration area constructed and planted prior to the construction of the in-ground pool and the finalizing of the, the land side amenities. Get that in place. I also think that planting that prior to March 1st of 2024 would probably be problematic since we'll be in the dead of winter, but I think planting that in the early to mid-spring and then following up with the construction afterwards, I think I would be very comfortable with that.
Thank you, Mark. Does any commissioner have any question of either Mr. McGovern or Mark? I don't see any. Is there anyone in the audience this evening that wants to be heard on this application? I don't see any. At this point, Mark, are you comfortable with just making those conditions you mentioned, or do we want to see them on the plan?
No, I'm comfortable with those conditions. I mean, these are slight modifications to what is already being proposed on the plan, so I have no problem with that.
I can give Mark a revised plan just as a follow-up, just changing that 1 gallon to 3 to 5 gallon.
Well, if you want to vote this evening, we'll have to do it as a condition. Otherwise,
Yeah, I can add this is a condition.
Okay,
yeah, that we
Yeah,
can.
that's fine.
this evening.
Sure.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion at this juncture to close the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
We have a seconded motion, roll call vote. We're gonna go Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well, so that passes unanimously. Commissioners, what's your pleasure on this request?
Just a quick question. Mark,
Yes.
what's the date of the plan of record?
The plan of record is October 20th, 2023. So that will be the plan of record on the plan, but the condition, that will be the plan of record on the order of conditions. But there will be a condition for a revised plan just for some details. We won't have that date.
Thank you. Can I make a motion for a standard order of conditions according to the plan of record, which was dated October 20th, 2023, with the following conditions. Number 1, a revised plan of record showing corrections to the planting sizes, planting container sizes, which would go from 1 gallon to 3 to 5 gallons. The second condition is that these plantings would be done prior to the construction of the in-ground pool in early to mid-spring.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second on the motion?
Could I make an amendment to that or recommended amendment to Patty?
Yeah.
Standard order of conditions with our standard restoration conditions also.
Oh, sorry. So amended. Can I say so amended, or do you need another motion?
No, I think that so amended will work.
So amended, okay. Thank you, Mark.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second to the motion as amended?
Second.
We have a second, so we're gonna go with a roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. So that motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Same
You
to
Same
you.
to you.
Good night.
Night.
We now have our items for discussion, and the first is we have $1,000 we owe to Reposo. So I guess that you're looking, Mark, for us to payment of that bill.
I need an authorization to sign the invoice since it's greater than $200, whatever the small amount is that I can sign for. So this is $1,000 bill. This is for the completion of the stormwater review of Potter Street. I did email you a copy of Gus's report. They finally got that squared away and he was able to approve that.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to authorize Mark to sign the invoice for Gus Reposa, $1,000 drainage review for the Potter Street solar matters.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion, roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, that passes unanimously. Before we get too far along on the items for discussion, at this point, I would like to, entertain a motion to authorize Mark to send a letter to Mr. John P. Kopachewski, 16 Bourne Place, regarding his filing for an NOI in DEP file 15-2705, NOI 23-43, indicating that we have continued that public hearing until Tuesday, December 5, 2023 at 7 p.m., and that there will be no further continuances of this matter. It will, and he must do, I guess, the work to get certificate of compliance on the previous orders of conditions, which have been outstanding now for quite a while.
So moved.
Second.
We have a roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, that passes unanimously. All right, now we'll move on to your wetland bylaw revision update, Mark.
Yes, very quickly, I contacted Attorney Cruz probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. An administrator took the bylaw discussion off the fall town meeting warrant. We heard about it secondhand. So the efforts that we put into meet a timeline were, not addressed for fall town meeting. And I don't want to fall into the same problem again. So I indicated to him that we had sent comments back to him. And we would like his responses to those, or the commission would like responses to those. We definitely would like to do this for Springtown meeting. This is now the third town meeting that we're trying to get on a warrant on for this. And as we speak, filing requirements are further changing. So we need to really lock this down. In my discussions, Attorney Cruz indicated that he had a conversation, I believe, with Mike Keogh regarding the conditions associated with negative determinations. And he seemed to be understanding our position that it is prudent to condition certain things. He was of the opinion that they were asking whether they were in our jurisdiction or not. And I think both Mike and I kept telling him, no, they are in our jurisdiction. It's a matter of whether the project is significant enough to warrant a full permit review or an abbreviated review. So I think he is revising the language accordingly. And he said that he would have something to me soon, but he didn't really give me a specific date. But I certainly believe it'll be either before Thanksgiving or just after. And he was talking about, sitting down and having a meeting with the commission. And I suggested to him that I didn't think it was prudent to try to piggyback this on a regularly scheduled meeting. So, and I realize it's the holidays and times are getting busy, but we should probably think of having a singular agenda item meeting with town council to discuss this, so we can pretty much move the bylaw portion forward so we can get that squared away. Not asking for a date just yet. I don't know what his comments are going to be. I don't know how significant the changes are, but just putting that on your radar screen.
Okay, is there anything else that we want to discuss on items for discussion? Any enforcement issues?
Yeah, I got a couple. The first one, I've invited Rich Frayome here for 25 Tolland Path. There's been a bit of back and forth. The applicant, shall we say, is being a little obstinate, and he's being obstinate with the wrong person in me. We had a little to do about it, but he seemed to have come to terms. So I'll let Rich discuss it real quick. Rich and I did a site visit yesterday morning. Everything has been done, and I'm ultimately going to request a vote to lift the cease and desist that was voted on so that they can proceed with work on the house. They've done everything they could to stabilize the site. And having said that, I'll turn it over to Rich if the commission does not mind.
Good evening. If you recall, this was where the applicant had cleared a lot of knotweed right down to the Pascagoula River without silt control, without permission. The engineer basically resigned. So we came in, did topographic survey, prepared a plan that showed trees and shrubs, silt control, and that was approved, and the applicant did go out and do all of that work. So the site is stable, and we're here to just request you to lift the cease and desist. We're still going to have to monitor, in the spring to see did everything survive, and at the end of the growing season, again, is everything in strong shape. So we're not going to be ready for certificate of compliance for at least a year, maybe more. But we like the cease and desist be lifted.
Thank you, Rich. And Mark, do you think this is?
I'm recommending that the cease and desist be lifted. They've done everything they can to correct the problem. The site is stable. Actually, the site looks really good. I mean, there's not a lot of it on it, obviously, but the site looks really good, and I think it's going to be an attractive amenity on that reach of the river. They've done the work. Been a bumpy ride, but they've accomplished what they need to accomplish. So I concur with Rich. I think the cease and desist should be lifted.
Do any commissioners have any questions? I don't see any, so at this juncture, I'll entertain a motion that you may want to make on this request to lift the cease and desist with
Make a-
staff's recommendation.
Make a motion to lift the cease and desist order on this filing.
We have a motion. We have a seconded motion. We'll do a roll call vote. Nat,
Yes.
Natty,
Yes,
Richard,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, so that motion passes unanimously. Thank you for your help.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank
You as well.
You as well.
Okay.
Yeah, just two quick ones. The Murray site is progressing. Brad Holmes, the wetland consultant, and I have concurred. They've gotten everything done that they can do this fall. Now it's a question of going back next spring and doing corrective action, which we anticipate you're going to have to do. We're dealing with knotweed and Phragmites, and the first year the first cut you don't knock it all down. So, but the site looked in pretty good shape, and I think it's the first time in a long time that you can actually see the Buttonwood Brook as it crosses the Murray property. So that was kind of a bonus, if you will. So the Murray site is, again, we've kind of bumped and grinded on that one, but it's coming along. The last item I have is just a really quick update. Brendan Phaneuf is updating the Francis restoration plan to incorporate the comments that I had made to him and to the commission. And as you voted, his plan with my amendments, and he is in the process of doing that. I should have a copy of the amended plan for you by the end of the week.
Wonderful news. both of those are wonderful news. Thank you, Mark.
Long
At this-
time.
I know, but sometimes those are the most sweet. Because
Persistence pays.
it does.
Sometimes you need to have a pit bull, you know?
You have to be relentless, in any event.
And thank you, Mark.
At this point, before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and hope you all enjoy your time. Not too much turkey or stuffing, in my case, because I happen to like a lot of that. Just monitor the intake. In any event, at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a roll call vote. Kyle,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Meeting is adjourned.